Okay. So, thank you for coming, I guess. Ours was a project. Maybe there's alcohol at the end, I'm not sure. But our project was on making a instructional video archive. So this is all these people are scientists, and I'm a chemist, and so most of us are chemists at heart. Or people that aren't chemists, we wish they were, I'm not sure. But our whole premise was to leverage our time, expand our hybrid learning options, and increase our collaboration. So it's pretty common in the scientific community. Not one institution has all the resources that a scientist needs. This is really common. And so you end up collaborating to access the resources. And what's silly to me is being in Alvea, you're always like, what do they have over there at Lehigh? Like, nobody knows. And then you're like calling someone that you maybe met at a something or other a couple of years ago, and you're like, hi, remember me? Can I come use your thing? So, so we wanted to really make faculty aware that we were doing this project so that we could collaborate on what we had that was unique to our institution, and then make videos about how to use it, because the last thing you want to do is say someone can use your thing and then spend 6 hours showing them how, which happens a lot in science. So, because it's hard to use these really complicated pieces of equipment. And the added side benefit, so the collaboration piece is great for us professionally in our professional work, in our scholarly research, but it also gives our students access to instrumentation they wouldn't otherwise have access to, either in theory or in practice. And then the hybrid learning gives us time to repurpose in the laboratory. So why make videos of research instrumentation? We have found in our work at Muhlenberg that students love this. They like being able to watch these technical videos outside of class, which means I'm not spending my time in class on really low order learning, like press this button here. No, honey, like a quarter turn to the right. And that's not helpful. No one's learning anything, especially since that instrument, they're never gonna see it again, right? What we want is them to have the result of actually learning something about the science through analyzing, not spending all their time worrying about it and pushing the right button at the right time. So taking that learning and flipping it saves me time in the classroom. It also reduces the amount of stuff they break, which, we're kind of sensitive about that as chemists. And so I even wrote that up there, reducing breakage. You can tell how much I care. It actually improves hands-on learning, and we have some assessment at Muhlenberg that shows this, and we're hoping to expand that assessment around our collaboration. And then our main goal, and why Teagle, I think, was interested in us, is that we preserve instructor time for higher order learning. We have all this time we spend in the laboratory with our students, and the last thing I want to do is be a good babysitter of students pushing buttons. Want to actually be accomplishing learning in the laboratory classroom that is high impact and high value. And so we want the time with the instrument to be really productive. Our last goal was to remove barriers to research collaboration through access to unique instrumentation. Some of the instruments we targeted are here. Our vision, our big vision was to make this archive that would be accessible to instructors no matter who wanted to access the learning components of it, and then across the consortium, obviously. That has really yet to materialize, the whole archive piece. But we're making progress. So our goals, sorry, I don't know why these are all different times. Our goals, initially we had to inventory, see what our instrumentation was, what we could target. And so we were able to do that really quickly. We prioritized what was high impact. Then we had to learn how to actually do video and learn how to do video well. And then what makes a good video for learning for students. I had made a lot of videos to start with, and some of those are good and some of those were maybe not so good. So we learned from our instructional designers. We had a workshop. They taught us how to make videos. So that was much easier for some of us than for others. That turned out to be a real challenge. I find that on a scale of 1 to 10, my barrier to tech usage is -4. So my colleagues were like, you do what? And I was like, oh my gosh, for the 10th time, you push this. And so I really had to recalibrate my understanding of how long it would take to learn the technology. And I was so proud of my colleagues who were more senior in my department and who, started doing chemistry before we had electricity. And so learning the technology on the computer was really challenging for them, and they really, really worked hard at it. And so for those faculty, the video process takes longer, right? Because it takes learning all the stuff and the software, and so they're still trying to make their videos. So we did all that. We figured out what technology was available at all of our campuses. Initially, I thought we would have uniform technology. That was not the case. So all the campuses are different. Like Moravian uses only Macs, which screwed everything up. And it's I know, it's really complicated. So finally, Farah just, sat us down and was like, look, you all just have to work with what you have at your own institutions. And I was like, okay. So that worked maybe better. The problem is all our internal expertise, I can't help, Steve figure out how to run Adobe Premiere on his Mac. So that became your problem. So, so we did the best we could there. And so then we started making some videos, and we actually shot some stuff on the SACS at Lehigh, which is a small angle X-ray scattering device, which was over a $500,000 NSF proposal to acquire this instrument. It's one of the only ones in I don't know how many mile radius, but that and then in undergrad to be able to go and acquire data on a SACS, that never happens. So here we are acquiring data on the SACS. There's the two students that got to go and use the instrument from Muhlenberg at SACS. At Lehigh on their instrument, taking our samples over there. And so that was really cool. We recorded, all that technical stuff. How do you fill the thing? How do you get out the bubbles and twist it? And so that the faculty member who's here is Mark Snyder didn't have to spend an hour training my students on his instrument. So that, I think worked like we imagined it would. And then we have videos on the NMR and some chromatography equipment at Muhlenberg. And our other ones are still in progress, specifically on our microwave reactors at Muhlenberg. So we're hoping to continue with assessment across this. No, does anyone have time for assessment? I don't have time for assessment. I just feel oh dear God. All right, we're gonna find I guess it's over spring break, right? That's why we have it. So we can assess. And we're going to collect data. We're trying to quantify. We know what's happening, but we want to quantify how much time we're saving in the classroom and repurposing. We know it's happening. We just need to measure it in some way that Teagle will be like, yes, we believe you. So, and then how many hours we've spent doing this kind of stuff, which for me ended up, why is that gray? I haven't thought yesterday. So, okay, lessons learned. Oh my goodness, it takes so much longer to do anything you thought you would do. So it's there's just no end to the reasons why it takes longer. Learning the technology took longer than I thought. Collaborating across campuses takes longer. Traveling here took me 30 minutes, so that was 30 minutes that I didn't plan on spending. And it's what I tell my students, okay, this procedure takes me 40 minutes, so multiply by 4. For however long it's going to take you. So that's what you should do. This is how much time we think we'll need, multiply by 4. Yeah. Because it will take a lot longer. The communication between campuses piece was weird. I imagined something different, and not that weird is not bad, it was just different than what I expected. And what I learned is that the campuses are different and they have to stay different. We're not going to be the same when this is all over. So keeping things separate but equal ended up being my punchline, and collaborate rather than combine. So rather than sharing resources, it was about co-using resources. And that was different, but I think, there might be our vision for the archive having one website where all these videos may or may not materialize someday. But, and I imagine that being an Alveic thing, not a Muhlenberg thing or a Lehigh thing, but for right now, everyone's making their own videos at their own campuses, and then we're just kind of manually sharing them, which works for now. And I think one thing that really worked for us was to play to your strengths. Mark and I were existing collaborators between Lehigh and Muhlenberg, and so I wrote on his grant to acquire that $500,000 instrument. And he wrote that my undergrads would be able to come and use it. And so it was like we were doubly motivated to like make that happen. So he just kind of cold called me one day and was like, hey, do your students want to use my instrument and want to be on my grant? And it came out of this collaboration, and now there's this really great opportunity for my students to be able to access that instrumentation. The other thing that worked really well for us is to target goals that were relevant to our courses and our research, because otherwise you would never, ever, ever, ever get it done. The end. We're supposed to ask questions?
Supposed to ask questions, yep.
Yes.
There we go.
So the videos, how long are they, and how long did they take you to?
The new ones we're making, since we learned about how to make videos, are supposed to be between 3 to 4 minutes with like a upper end of 7 minutes. Some of the ones I've made prior to this are like 20, and that's bad. They're supposed to be short.
How long did that take you to get to 3 or 4? How many hours went into the 3 or 4?
That is a great question, and every single member of my team would answer it differently.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because
What's the
now
range
I'm
of
so
time?
proficient at the technology to get 3 to 4 minutes out of like, I can, one afternoon I'll film it, the next afternoon I'll slap it together. So maybe 2 hours on the computer.
The slow person that just doesn't know what's going on, how long would it take that?
My very first videos took me days
Okay.
because learning the technology was the rate limiting step.
Days, okay.
Yeah.
How long, so those newest videos, how many times were your students watching them to get a feel like, okay, I'm ready to go to visit the thing and I'm not going to embarrass myself?
This is a piece of the analytics that I have to get help from our digital learning team to extract. I know it's like built into like the clicks,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to get it out. So that's one of the things that Tom is going to help me do. But based on like the number of students in the class, the number of hits we're getting per semester, I'm thinking it's somewhere in the 3 to 5 window,
Okay.
just based on averages. And the week before the lab final, it goes like,
Yeah. That's good, that's good.
yeah, no, it is good. And then there's the whole like set of sophomores that walk around, they're like, I hear your voice in my sleep. Like, wow, that was my goal. Is that it? Okay.
Great.
Maybe a literacy?